Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. Now this is part 3, the final part, in regards to my updates of my Ascendence Healing Charts. Now obviously it's going on for a wee while, but I want to make sure that I really explain, the greater insights that Truly Holistic can provide you, right? This system is very simplistic, right? There's not many charts in it, but everything that's in that chart has a purpose. And that purpose is not something that if we may know that, we may be that. I know for certain, 100% certain, and support and backing and purpose to every insight that's in this system, right? Every clearing that it's telling me to do, every path or guide it's telling me to walk down to facilitate greater insight and also healing for that client within the session. Okay, so that's what I'm very proud about here at Truly Holistic, is that why the system is simplifying is because we can focus now on the origin and the roots of things. We have a greater sense and understanding and insight in what the origin and the root are for a number of every health issue there is, or manifestation issue there is, or assisting someone's ascension and perhaps where they're faltering in regards to their ascension to get them back on track. So let's get straight into this last part where we're just going to talk about a couple of the last charts that we've got here. At the end of the second part, make sure that you watch the first part and the second part, obviously before watching this first part that's on my YouTube channel. So let's get into it. We're going to get into the sustenance of energy chart. Very, very important chart that we use a lot. So this is the sustenance of energy. Now we must understand that that's what we do as the human, right? Generally as the human we were taught that we sustain energy through what we eat, right? You hear that saying, you've got to have your breakfast before you go out in the day so you've got some energy, right? That's how we're taught as the human is because we perceive everything in its physical fashion and its physical form, which is just this very small sliver of reality of what that thing actually represents, right? Our eyes see 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum of light. So that means whatever we're looking at, we're seeing a representation of that thing that is not even 1% of it. Okay, this is why I really teach people to feel into something, because feel is the only thing that we can utilize that connects into the full 100% representation of something. Because our eyes can't take us there. Thought can't take us there. But when we connect into the feel, connect into something heart to heart, then we can get a sense of what that thing that we perceive as physical, but we can feel its 100% representation of what it is. Okay, so in a sense, our origin, our root is energy, right? So this chart's about the sustenance of energy. And if at our core, as an infinite consciousness, which means an energy that has no boundary or limitation applied to it, then as the human, why is one of the most common complaints a lack of energy, lethargy? It's a very valid question, right? And we have the answers for that here at Truly Holistic. It's the understanding of that as the human we're generally taught to block, obstruct, and congest that infinite reservoir of energy that is within each one of us. So all of a sudden, when we open our heart and open that facilitation of that infinite reservoir of energy, then all of a sudden how we sustain energy as we go about our daily life changes. We realize that actually what we're eating is not as important as we thought it was, right? It's part of the picture, but it's not the whole picture. And for example, we're striving to get certain minerals or nutrients from this food and into this food to try and piece them together to get a spectrum of minerals, right? Which is really frequencies. Right? Why calcium works in one way and magnesium works in another way is because the frequencies, or what calcium is certain frequencies on a bandwidth of frequencies that's not that magnesium doesn't have. And magnesium has a certain amount of frequency that calcium doesn't have. That's why they have different roles and functions. But I'm here to tell you, if you open your heart and you connect into your infinite consciousness, you can provide all the frequencies and more that make up what we perceive and what we know as and what we label as calcium, as magnesium, all these minerals, all these vitamins, and more. Because a lot of the times when we're eating our food, and again, we've got to depend on the state we're providing the body, because the body is only as good as the state we provide it, on our digestive system working properly for that to then break down that food and then absorb and assimilate those nutrients, right? So there's a lot of things that could be going against you, right? There's an easier way, and this is what this chart's all about, and what I'm here to teach you. Okay, so again, a lot of the times when we're eating food, we're consuming calcium or magnesium that is bound to this reality. But I'm here to tell you, when you open your heart and you connect to not only a spectrum of frequencies, but a number of spectrum of frequencies, because you're connecting into a multiverse, a multi-reality, multi-dimensional aspect of yourself, then you're bringing frequencies of calcium, magnesium, not only bound to this reality, but bound to a number of them. And we call this Ormus, or the science of Ormus, which is orbitally rearranged monatomic elements, which is ORME, O-R-M-E, but it's often called Ormus. Okay, it's an abbreviation. Now, what that means is when something is shifting in and out of dimensional state, right? So what they found with that is they can start with the molecular structure of, let's say, magnesium. And then because when it shifts in and out in dimensional states, that molecular structure changes and mimics like another mineral, like silica, and they end up with silica. Now that's because magnesium is, because each universe or reality or dimension have different universal laws and different, what we deem as science physics, then that molecular structure and how that magnesium expresses itself in each reality is going to be a little bit different. Just like me. A variant of me in a different reality is going to be a little bit different. We still are connected to the same energy signature, but we're going to express ourselves a little bit differently because of universal law. So you can see this goes to infinite capacity and capabilities here. And I actually created a healing system, which I called the broadcasting system I created, that facilitates the person that purchased that, buy that, to sustain themselves through using intention, using energetic means, right? Where we bring the full capacity and consciousness of cacao, right? Which all chocolate's made up of, which trumps any heirloom cacao variety that you can buy off a shelf. And I'll tell you why, because that cacao that you buy off the shelf, you've got to remember that it depends on the soil that plant was being grown in. It depends on the people that are harvesting the plant and their energetics, their imprinting on that plant. The harvesting, the cultivating, the packaging, the processing, the people that market it, the people that sell it, and they're all imprinting their effect on that eventual product that then you're going to consume. So how much of the original consciousness and medicinal quality of that cacao plant or cacao bean are you getting when you buy that product? Now, you have the power to facilitate its full 100% consciousness, and it's consciousness that's bound to a multi-reality. So Ormus quality cacao through that system, through the broadcasting system. Okay, it's a wonderful product, and it empowers you with so much, with infinite capacities, which is really a sustenance system. For me, what is humanity dealing with right now? A sustainability problem. Now that broadcasting system, and also what we provide here in session work here at Truly Holistic, is the future because it's sustainable. It remedies those issues. It's wonderful. So encourage you, check that out, that system, which we call the broadcasting system, which is on my product store at trulyholistic.net/products/. Anyway, let's get back into it. So now we're going to look at some of these sustenances, right? And how we use this a lot, this chart in session work. So we've got food, right, which we're well aware of. Digestion, but as I say, the state, right, the body's only as good as the state we provide it. For example, if we're in a overwhelmed, stressed state, then our adrenal glands are going to secrete cortisol. Cortisol shuts the digestive system down. So it doesn't matter how good a food you're eating. It doesn't matter. Your body is going to treat it like a toxin because it's not in the correct state to break it down and assimilate it. Right? So you accumulate and you hold, because what's the definition of a toxin? Right? A build-up and accumulation of a substance. And that could be water, even though water is great for your health. If you hold on to your water, right, so it's not enabling flow, right, to process the body through the body, then it becomes a toxin. Okay, so when you really think about it, it's not, we're so focused as a human that, it's about quality. It's about, quality of, I've got to eat organic and heirloom and all those sorts of things. But we're not emphasizing the state we provide, because the body is only as good as the state we provide. It's often what's missed. And this is what I regularly see when we're working with people. Okay, so here we go. So the next one is water, obviously a very important one, because water is all about flow. It's our teacher of flow. And also it's an element, right, when we talk about earth, air, water, fire, and now ether. Okay, so intent, because again, intent's our superpower. I just did a post on my Facebook channel about abracadabra, right? Magicians, it's quite often that expression that's used, abracadabra. Now, the Hebrew meaning of abracadabra is I create through words, right? So it's emphasizing that person that's using words, that intention is creating reality. Remember, our superpowers are where we place our attention and how we use our intention. The broadcasting system I mentioned before, what are you using in that system? Your intention and your attention. When you come and do session with me, what am I using? My attention and using my intention. Now, what am I focusing on that client is how they've been using you named it, their attention and their intention. It's the most important self-aware concepts you need to be aware of. This is why consciousness is at the core of everything, because consciousness means to be self-aware. What's the collective trying to do? Distract your attention. So therefore, you lose sight of how you use your attention and your intention, right? So it holds your power. You lose your ability to provide the reality your heart desires. Okay, so intention is very powerful, very important. Now, going back to abracadabra, right, is that aspect there, intention and spells, right? Everyone gets so in their head about spells, right? Spells and casting spells, what does that mean? Voicing intention is casting a spell, because words mean spell. When we learn as a kid to do spelling, we're putting letters together to formulate words. Now, casting is to use and intend words with words. So everybody's speaking every day, so we're all casting spells. There's nothing woo-woo about it. There's nothing really odd or strange about it. There's nothing, and for the people that are worrying about, I'm being cursed by people spelling me, understand that nothing can affect you in your reality, unless you feed it. You allow it. And how we allow things is whether we place our attention on it, whether we become aware of it, we then feed our own energy for it to sabotage ourselves. That's what actually happens. So that's all about intention, okay? There's a big aspect about intention. So let's keep going. Next thing is sun, right? Which is to do with our soul. Because the Latin word for sun is soul, S-O-L, but pronounced like S-O-U-L. So there's a lot of greater insight and meaning behind what we see as the projection of the sun as the human, because the human perspective is to externalize, right? And the inner sun that we have within us, which is our soul, okay? I always say to people that the human perspective is right. I'll ask them and I'll say, what is the greatest light source, energy source? So the human perspective is to externalize, which would be the sun. But if I was to change that perspective from externalizing it instead of, and therefore internalizing it, and ask that person the same question, what is your greatest light source and energy source? The answer would be your soul, right? Okay, so we've got to understand the human perspective is to externalize, because, why is that? Because we're a lot easier to be manipulated and controlled, because all of a sudden we create a vulnerable state for ourselves by doing so, which is from mind and fear, worries, concerns. Okay, we need to internalize things. We need to understand our role within reality, and that we are the projector that creates the projections outside of ourselves, going that way, not things influencing us going that way. Okay, so let's keep going. Now, another one is sleep. Okay, very important, right? As the human, we need to rest, right? We rest the body. The body's a vessel that is not really us. We're just using the vessel, right, as an interface to extend our will to create here. We're creators. But obviously, that's a human perspective that we rest. But as the soul consciousness perspective, that's our ability to travel a bit, right? Which is to access our infinite nature and explore a little bit. So there's kind of two different worlds, because there's two different perspectives when it comes to sleep. So that's, I deal with a lot of people that have sleep issues and have bad dreams and, all sorts of things that we can easily remedy. Obviously, the centerpiece of that is your pineal gland, right? That secretes melatonin. That's the scientific name that they give it, the pineal gland. Obviously, the ancients called it the third eye because they found that there was optic receptors in it from a science perspective, so it is an eye. We call it insight, right? And the definition of insight is a greater sense, understanding, and knowing of what something represents. So this is very pivotal because, as I said, these two eyes are limited. They won't take you there, but this eye can. Okay, and these are our external sight, and there's two of them, so they're a duo, so duality. Duality is limited existence, and that one is by itself, it's the singularity eye that gives us those greater answers that we're looking for. So let's keep going. Next one is duality, as I just mentioned. This duality is not something that's there because we're creators of reality. It's something we create. And the way we're taught as the human, right, is to follow what we see, which is our limitation, and to couple it up with getting our head around what we see, which is through a mind-thought pathway, is, again, another limited approach. We then form a limited existence, which we call duality, which is based on chaos and conflict. Okay, so this one comes up a lot. A lot of people are using their energy to create duality, and they don't realize that a big part of their experience, right, which is causing bad luck, causing all these things to happen and be created in their life, which are the things they don't want instead of the things they do want. And a lot of people understand that they're not part of that creation, where a lot of the times they are. And again, by giving them that insight, what are we doing? We're enlightening and empowering that person, instead of them continuing to be confused and chaotic and conflicted in their life. We're giving them purpose. We're giving them insights. We're empowering them. And that's the way forward. Okay, I cannot condone anybody that does energy work that is all about fear. There's so many people that do it. It's all about fear. You come to me, I'll clear that entity or that bad guy. And if that comes back, you come back to me because, you should be fearful with them. Not at all. I'm not about that. That is still part of duality. We're all about neutrality, and the key with neutrality, which is ascension, is to enlighten and empower that individual. And that's what we'll always do here at Truly Holistic. Right, so let's keep going. Relationships. Okay, so biggie, right? Because relationships, someone can empower you with becoming more of who you are, and some people can strip more of your authenticity away. So relationships are a big one. We have a lot of people that come, we do sessions on people that are having trouble with relationships, which quite often the basis of it is that each individual, one of those individuals in a relationship is trying to fill their own voids by bringing other people into their life, getting love or connection from other people, only to feed a void that that person has inside themselves because they haven't learned to connect and love themselves. Again, this is the human arc. This is the human story, is that to connect and to love, we need that from outside of ourselves. That's the human arc, because our perspective as the human is to externalize. And that makes you very vulnerable, because what if you don't connect with somebody? What if you don't fall in love with somebody? You become lost, right? That's the definition of a lost soul. You've got to understand that love, the unconditional aspect of love, right? Everyone's looking for unconditional love. It means authentic love. And that authentic love comes from within you. It doesn't come from external to you. That becomes conditional love. Okay, that's a mind perspective of something the mind doesn't know, because the mind is thought and love is feeling. Love is a feeling. Love is not thought. You know, relationships go pear-shaped because that bond, that connection, that relationship, that contractual agreement, connection with that other person no longer becomes part of a love-feel pathway. It becomes a mind-thought pathway, which is void of true, authentic, unconditional love. Okay, so that's where we really work on it. And I can really help people, and I do, with relationship issues and marriage issues. And also for the individual to reconnect, to love oneself. Because I tell you, a majority of health problems is due to a lack of connection of that person, of who they are. But more importantly, a love for themselves is missing. And it needs to be there, okay? Because the heart is the key, and the heart needs to be open. Okay, family, right? Dealing with family members, right? Because you got to understand, family is a mini collective. Because quite often, and this is not all families, because families are different, right? From one family to another. But families, what it ends up happening is, if somebody's going through a hard time, it affects and influences the rest of the family members, right? So very much the same way as the intelligence that is not us, that controls the collective narrative we call humanity, is that, you know, if something's happening with humanity on the other side of the planet, we're going to inform you about that, so that you then become influenced by what's happening there, okay? Even though really that's a falsehood, because it's being brought into your reality, your world. Because your reality, your world is here, right here in the present, right here. Okay, that's what I can see right now is my world. That's it. That's my world at this point in time. Because it's a space where I can make a change. Okay, informants are trying to bring stuff into your awareness of things that you, for a majority of people, cannot make a change in. So when we expend energy into those things, where are we really giving our energy away to? Okay, so the family is a mini collective. It's very much the same model and very much manipulated in the same way. And that's what we tend to find out, and how we heal family issues that family members have with other family members. Anyway, let's keep going. Right, work, right? Your workplace, and also work colleagues that you work with, right? You can leak energy out through that means, or you can gain energy through that means. For example, I love my work. I love my job. I don't see it as work in a sense, right? So I give my all in this profession, right? I'm completely authentic. Authenticity is a massive principle here at Truly Holistic. And that's, you know, because that's what we're trying to achieve for each individual, because that's going to help them with their health problem, but also in regards to a successful ascension. So work's a big one. Because the majority of people out there do jobs and work in workplaces that they don't like. So you got to sense that majority of their life they're doing something that is not in alignment with their authenticity, right? And being happy, being joyful, loving life, right? And also, you know, when we get people connected into their heart, connected into their soul consciousness, it gives them instruction of, you know, what's my purpose of being here? Right? What's the thing that I should be doing here? And usually the indications is that it's things that give you joy, things that you love. Because the more you invest in the things you love, especially when it comes to doing a profession or work, you're going to become successful at it because you're fully invested in it. Okay? So anyway, let's keep going. Place of attention. We've talked so much about that, right? So the old saying is, where attention goes, energy flows. And also the saying that I love and that I say is, whatever holds your attention holds your power, right? Because it's a transfer of energy. You're transferring your energy into where you place your attention. So that's a big one, because it's a great realization to give my clients. You need to assess. Well, first you need to become self-aware, right? And be present as much as you can, so you're self-aware of the choices of where you're placing your attention. But also, secondly, is that place of attention, is that making you feel uneasy? Because if it is, then take your attention off it. Stop feeding your energy to it, right? And you'll get validation on where you need to feed your energy into, your place of attention, because it will make you feel more at ease, more at peace, more at joy, more at love self, and so on. So, projection from the mind, right? Projections from the mind that are creating miscreation. The mind wants your intention to feed into things that you create more of the things you don't like instead of the things you do. So you lose hope. You lose the will of life and the passion of life and those sorts of things. That's the purpose of the mind, to limit you. Now, screen devices, right, where we get into EMS or Wi-Fi, that might be iPads, that might be your iPhone, that might be computer. All these sorts of things, right? Which, we've got energy tools. We've got energy tools. We've got cell phone tabs that you can place on your iPad, place on your iPhone. That all of a sudden turns that device into something that zaps and removes your energy into something that charges you and connects you into your consciousness. We've got all the tools providing to do that. Again, on the product store on my website, trulyholistic.net/products/. Relationship with self, which is the greatest relationship you can have. And again, as the human, we don't get taught to enable the space to learn about who we truly are. Because the perspective as the human is to externalize it, right? To become dependent on things outside of ourselves. Okay, so this is the greatest relationship you ever have, is with yourself. Exercise, these are just common ones. Exercise, yep. Because there's certain exercise that can break down somebody. That's not so beneficial for them. And it might be stationary things like yoga or more meditative aspects that are better for someone, where for someone it might be weight training or cardio exercise. So we can look at that. Obviously the dream state, we've talked about that before in regards to what really sleep is, what we're mentioning over here. Reality, because we're creating a reality. That's what we are, where we create reality. So we look at that. Is the reality that's currently being created by this individual working in favor for them or against them? So we'll look at that, which we call a generation. Environment, right, which starts to look into the state and the environment we create, because the body is only as good as the state that we provide. And a life form's behavior is directly dependent on the state environment that's provided. So we don't go straight to the behavior and work on that and start to make a conclusion and say, hey, this person's bad. Or this microbe is only a bad pathogenic microbe, and it can't be anything else. We're starting to talk about absolutes here, and absolutes are not real, people. There's no such thing in absolutes. Science is looking to provide absolutes, but they're going to keep searching and seeking for infinity, because there's no such thing as an absolute. Okay, because as we change our perspective, we then change what we're looking at, what we're experiencing as part of our reality. So everything is ever changing, depending on that person's perspective on the observer, right? Quantum physics states that, right, for reality to be here, it requires an observer. Why? Because they're using their place of attention to create reality. It's all there, right? So environment and the state is more important to focus on those things, which our natural state is a state of being, and this is the cosmic joke. We're called human beings, but the majority of humans don't know how to be, right? We're taught to be human doings. Very much like my personal journey. When I got taught to be a nurse, it was all about being holistic, and then I was put into a work environment in a hospital which doesn't enable you to be holistic. It's all task orientated. So this is the aspect, that's the environment and state that doesn't enable something to occur in a certain way, right? It's not promoting being holistic. It's not promoting a holistic viewpoint, a holistic looking at the bigger picture. So we look at all that stuff. And also last one there's house, which really, we don't really go into much more because that comes into our state environment that we're projecting, that we look into. And then lastly, I've got the game of duality chart. Now the game of duality chart is the process of the game of duality. Now duality is a game, right? And why I call it a game is because the intelligence that controls our collective narrative, right, for a human and this collective to keep creating duality, right? A reality built on chaos and control and conflict, right? This is why wars and all these destructive things happen, whether it's weather patterns or earthquakes and all these sorts of things as part of reality, is that the intelligence that controls it knows the rules of this game, but the way that we're taught as a human is we live this game without knowing the rules. Right? It's like you going to play someone at chess and they know the rules and you don't. Do you think you're going to succeed in that game? No, you're not. Okay, and this is what humans are doing. They're living everyday life. Like, for example, they are more aware, or their attention's being pulled and distracted by a collective to be aware about stuff that they are not actually experiencing as part of their own reality. And the things that they actually are experiencing on a day-to-day life, like thoughts, they know nothing about. If I pulled somebody off the side of the road and I said, I want you to tell me what thoughts are and where they come from, a majority of people wouldn't be able to give me an answer. And this is something that everybody's experiencing moment to moment, day in, day out. Okay? Now there's something wrong with that, right? I hope you've come to that awareness, or hopefully now you have. Because there's something wrong with that, right? And so these are a step-by-step approach how they get you hooked into the game of duality. Okay, so this chart's about that. There's 4 steps to it. Okay, so, the first step's essentially the collective will distract your attention. Because it knows if it holds your attention, it holds your power. This is why I try and teach you about all this stuff. Okay? Because really at the basis, it's very simple. But what do we do as the human? Especially with mind and thought, it complexes everything. We overcomplicate stuff. The true technologies of enhancing our potential is going to be through more simplistic means, not more complex means. That's AI. That's not you. Okay. Now the second step, once it's got your attention, so that it therefore elicits a reaction or response out of you through lack of awareness, right? That you start to use your creative ability in a conflicted and destructive manner without your, and then all of a sudden you think that's things outside of me that's doing all this, why my life's this way. No. This is where the perception-deception comes into play here. Okay? Because our power has always been in how we respond and react. It's not about the challenge. It's not about what comes into our life. That's there for us to learn. Right? And we start to get into things like karma. But our reaction and our response is our power. Always has been. Okay? Third step is that your attention, your intention, your superpower, how you create reality, then enables miscreation, right? Which is forging an ascension for AI, intelligence AI that's not you, that's facilitated through mind thought. And you fail at your ascension. This has always been the answer my higher consciousness has given me. Is I've always asked, why do we fail at ascension? And I always have said this, thought. That humans tend to follow thought and the mind as part of themselves when it really isn't. Okay, this is why we really, heart feel is the way, heart's the key. Okay, and then the end product is a creation of reality that's built upon chaos and conflict. And we just create that loop and keep that vicious loop going. That's what we do. So this chart is very important, and we go there a lot to maybe work on one or two or maybe all steps in regards to that client where that is happening for them, and we rectify that, give them the information, but also do the clearing work. So that is the updates to the new Ascendance charts that we use in Ascendance healing sessions, but also to give us the insights that I can give you in reality coaching as well. So this is what the system I'll be using if you book an appointment. So I really recommend you booking Ascendance Healing Reality Coaching so you can get a sense of not only getting the healing that you deserve, with the greater insights coupled with it, because you need to know what's happening, what it represents for you to heal. Because you need to know who you truly are, authentically are, and you need to know what reality is all about, the rules, the guidelines, the universal laws that are in play, hence why I provide reality coaching sessions as well. Also, obviously the other healing systems, the self-empowered healing systems I've created for you, such as the broadcasting system, such as the intuitively alignment system, that you can buy right now and learn right now. And to heal yourself right now and your family members and your community, it's there on trulyholistic.net/products/. If you want to book an appointment, go to trulyholistic.net/appointments/ and you'll see all the different appointments there on my scheduling app where you can book your own appointment anywhere in the world. It will come up in your time zone and you can know when it's available and when you can book it. Again, if you have any questions, ask below. Please like the video. Please share this video for as many people as you can. Again, you know, a lot of these things are all based on algorithms, which is an AI technology to get this word out. So it's hard work for somebody like me to get this word out. So I really appreciate your involvement, your participation in watching these videos, sharing these videos and getting the word out as well. Until next time, catch you later.